Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at something a bit unexpected, maybe, for our usual fare.
Yeah.
Forget the usual dry academic papers. We've actually got a transcript from a YouTube video.
Okay, interesting.
It's called IELTS Speaking Band 9, Perfect Pronunciation, from the IELTS Advantage channel.
Right. IELTS, so an English language test prep video.
Exactly. And you might be thinking an English test. What can we really dig into there? But, well, our mission here is to kind of unearth some surprising insights
Okay, about what?
about how we communicate effectively, how we adapt to new things, new situations, and even, how we grow as people, all from this seemingly narrow context.
Ah, I see. So using it as a sort of microcosm. Yeah, that makes sense. It's like a snapshot of real interaction, isn't it?
Totally.
You've got someone being evaluated, getting direct feedback on their communication. The goal might be the exam, sure, but those underlying dynamics, they apply way beyond just test prep.
Exactly. It's like a concentrated study of communication and adaptation kind of in action.
Yeah.
It's a great reminder, I think, that you can find valuable learning like in the most surprising places. Have you ever had that? Found a key insight somewhere you really didn't expect?
Oh, definitely. Happens all the time.
Well, let's explore this transcript then, see what we can pull out. So the first point that comes up is pretty fundamental. Our stuff, our belongings, and what they say about, our priorities.
Right. And what's interesting here is the speaker, she says she prefers fewer possessions, makes daily life easier, he feels.
Mm-hmm.
And she specifically mentions tech, like her laptop, iPad, phone.
The usual suspects.
Pretty much. It kind of ties into that whole minimalism idea, doesn't it? Which isn't just about having less clutter physically.
No, it's mental clutter, too.
Exactly. Reducing that mental load, focusing on what actually adds value, makes you think about your own relationship with stuff, doesn't it? Do your things serve you?
That's a really good point, the mental clutter aspect. And then she lists the things she apparently cannot live without. Phone, water, and cats.
Ah, okay. A relatable mix.
Oh, it's lighthearted, yeah, but also kind of revealing, isn't it? Modern needs, personal connections, and she mentions organizing books by color sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Just a little detail, but it suggests, I don't know, a certain aesthetic, a way of creating order. It makes you think, what are your absolute essentials? What couldn't you manage without? And how do you, make sense of your own space?
Precisely. These little preferences,
Yeah.
they can be a window into someone's values maybe at that specific moment in their life. Okay, so shifting gears a bit, the conversation then moves on to technology. Always a big topic.
Yeah, let's unpack that. So the speaker acknowledges the good stuff,
Right.
like connecting with friends far away, networking for work, obvious plus points for our interconnected world.
Undeniably. I mean, the internet has shrunk the world, opened up professional doors like never before. But then
Yeah, there's a but.
there is.
Yeah.
She also talks about wanting less technology. She mentions concerns about AI, replacing humanity, and just wanting to depend on it less.
Which mirrors a lot of conversations happening right now, that growing unease about tech dependence.
It really does. It makes you wonder about the balance, doesn't it? The one we strike.
It does. And she offers this nuanced take, saying tech has made life better to a certain extent. She mentions social media for connection, networking, sharing creative stuff like music or art.
Right, contrasting it with the past.
Yeah, remembering a time before things like Instagram. It's like a balanced view, appreciating the gains, but also seeing the trade-offs. Where do you see that balance in your own life? Where has tech really helped, but where do you maybe feel that pull to step back a bit?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Being conscious about it, not just letting it take over. Which leads nicely into the next bit about reading habits, often linked to tech use.
Exactly. The speaker says she enjoys reading, but wishes she did it more, I think. I suspect a lot of us feel that way.
Oh, for sure.
That feeling that screen time just eats into potential book time, and her preference. Self-help books. Yeah, another little clue, maybe. Suggests a proactive mindset, perhaps. A desire for growth. Makes you think about your own reading. Are you happy with how much you read? What kind of books pull you in?
Yeah, that tension between knowing something like reading is good for you and the constant pull of, well, everything else digital. It's very modern. And the self-help thing, it does subtly reinforce that personal development theme we see popping up.
Okay, so from the inner world of reading, the conversation moves outside. Outdoor activities and, interestingly, solitude.
Right. This part felt quite vivid. She lists things she enjoys outdoors: running, morning yoga, especially by the beach,
That does sound good.
doesn't it? Group classes, too, swimming, just being near the ocean, suggests someone who really finds rejuvenation in nature.
But there's a catch again.
Always. What is it this time?
Well, the reality of not getting outside as much as she'd like because of the hot, humid weather.
Ah, yeah, that highlights how external stuff, things beyond our control, can really affect the lifestyle we want. We're always making compromises.
True. And when she is outside, she says she prefers being alone. For introspection, disconnecting.
But she also acknowledges the upside of socializing, too. It's not either.
Right. And she shares a story about a solo trip to England, learning from being alone in nature. Really emphasizes that power of solitude for reflection. What about you? When you're outside, do you usually prefer being alone or with others? What do you feel you gain from that?
That balance again, isn't it? Solitude versus connection. Different environments seem to help with different needs. And her future plans, paragliding, skiing, they suggest wanting new experiences, pushing boundaries, but still in that natural world context.
Okay, so now let's dive into something bigger, a major life change she talks about. Moving abroad for university, adapting to a totally new place.
Right, and this is where, like you said, some deeper themes really start to come through. She chose to study abroad because she felt there were better opportunities, better resources.
Which sets up this whole big adaptation process.
Exactly. And she's honest about the initial struggles, cultural differences, feeling like an outsider in the art world because she hadn't had as much prior experience.
You can really picture that, feeling out of your depth.
Absolutely. And the emotional side, too, she mentions crying in class, having breakdowns. It's a powerful reminder that big changes can be really tough emotionally.
Yeah.
Vulnerability is part of it.
Definitely not always smooth sailing. But the key takeaway seems to be her resilience, pushing through it and reframing those difficulties as, like, learning moments.
Yeah, that reframing is crucial.
And she mentions it taking maybe 1 or 2 years to really acclimate. That feels like a realistic time frame for such a huge shift.
It does. It makes you reflect on your own big shifts, doesn't it? New
Yeah.
job, new city, whatever it was. That adjustment period is often, well, messy, not linear at all.
So true. Which leads nicely into why adapting to change is so different for everyone. Why is it sometimes so hard?
Well, the transcript touches on this general human tendency to, resist change.
Yeah.
It links it back to our brains, our programming from childhood.
Like we're wired for familiarity.
Sort of. When we stray too far from those ingrained patterns in environment, relationships, whatever, it can trigger that fight or flight response.
Yeah.
Stepping out of the comfort zone feels inherently risky to our primal brain.
That makes sense. Our brains crave safety, predictability. So going beyond that feels unsettling, maybe even scary. How about you, listener? What's your general take on change? Do you jump in or do you tend to hang back at first?
Yeah, just understanding that bias towards stability can help us navigate change more consciously, maybe more effectively. And building on that, the discussion gets into the specifics of cultural adaptation.
Right. The speaker suggests it can be easier, smoother when a new culture just kind of fits you personally, or when you feel some empathy with the people there.
Empathy's huge.
And being open to new experiences, that's mentioned too. That feeling of finding, like, freedom or a sense of belonging in a new place, it seems really powerful for successful adaptation.
Exactly. When your own values kind of resonate with the new cultural norms, it just makes integration less effortful maybe. Empathy bridges gaps, and an open mind lets you appreciate different ways of doing things.
But it's not always rosy. The transcript acknowledges the flip side, encountering things in the new culture that just don't sit right with you personally.
Yeah, that friction is real. It happens when core values clash. It's not always a seamless blend.
And the speaker gives that personal example of leaving America because she felt misaligned with some cultural values there. It's a strong illustration that sometimes, despite trying, a place just might not feel like home.
It's a powerful point.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt that kind of cultural disconnect, maybe abroad or even just within a different group closer to home? What were the sticking points for you?
Thinking about that can really shed light on our own cultural filters, what belonging truly means for each of us. Okay, so let's circle back to a theme that's been woven through this. Challenges. Their role in personal growth.
Yes. The speaker feels strongly that facing challenges helps us tune into ourselves better, trust our gut feeling more.
There's this idea that real growth often comes through difficulty, through overcoming things. Pain, as a big life teacher, she says, needed to become a better version of yourself.
It's a common perspective, isn't it? That adversity builds resilience, forces us to find strengths we didn't know we had. Comfort zones are nice, but they don't usually stretch us much.
No, they don't.
Challenges push us, make us reevaluate, adapt, expand what we're capable of. Can you think of a time maybe when a really tough challenge, painful at the time, actually led to significant growth or learning for you later on?
It's definitely something worth reflecting on. Okay, finally, let's get to the really explicit communication stuff, the feedback from the instructor in the video. Even though it's IELTS, there's some gold here for, well, anyone who speaks.
Totally agree. So much of this applies way beyond a test. Like, the instructor notes that nerves can mess with your fluency at the start.
We've all been there.
Oh, yeah. But the assessment looks at the whole performance, the totality, not just those first shaky moments. That's useful for any kind of presentation or important conversation.
Absolutely. And the advice to pick easier topics to talk about to sound more fluent, that's brilliantly simple, isn't it?
It really is. Clear, confident, talk about something simple beats struggling with something complex every time, communication-wise.
And the instructor warns about that trap of overthinking, trying to find the best idea instead of the one that's easiest to actually say out loud. So common.
It is. Prioritizing clarity, ease of expression, that's often the secret sauce. And the feedback about thinking while speaking, those pauses, maybe repeating the question and the advice, just take a moment before you answer.
So practical. Simple, but really effective for sounding more composed, more fluent.
Definitely. And then there's the point about using specific examples, crucial for illustrating general ideas.
Makes things so much clearer, right? The instructor says to imagine you're explaining it to someone who knows nothing about the topic. Forces you to be concrete, relatable.
And that directly improves coherence, doesn't it? Making sure your message hangs together is well developed. Examples are like the glue.
Good analogy.
The feedback also praises the speaker's pronunciation, calls it clear, natural. Even mentions the American accent possibly being clear, partly because it's influenced by so many global speakers.
That's a fascinating thought. Never considered that.
Me neither. And then the focus on intonation, connected speech, word stress, how the music of your voice carries meaning. The example of listing things with rising and falling tones makes that really clear.
It's not just what you say, but how you say it. The melody matters.
And good vocabulary gets a nod too, using precise, economical language. The example given was draining a social battery. Just a neat, efficient phrase.
Yeah, captures a feeling perfectly. What about grammar?
The feedback there is quite reassuring, actually. Minor slips happen, even for native speakers. It's the frequency that matters, not achieving absolute perfection.
That takes some pressure off, doesn't it? For language learners, or really anyone worried about sounding perfect.
It should. It's about overall communication, not flawless grammar. Fluency was noted as an area to work on, often tied to those nerves and just needing a bit more thinking time.
But there were strategies suggested.
Yeah, practical ones.
Mm-hmm.
Prepare. Focus on it being a conversation, not a performance. Picture talking to a friend. Things to make it feel less high stakes.
That reframing seems really helpful.
And the final, crucial reminder. The assessment, and often real-life communication, is more about your skills, pronunciation, fluency, grammar, vocab, than how complex or brilliant your ideas are. Simplifying your message can actually make you sound more fluent.
That's almost counterintuitive, but it makes total sense. Focus on communicating clearly, not necessarily being profound. These insights, even from an IELTS context, feel really broadly applicable, don't they? Presentations, meetings, even just chatting.
Absolutely. It boils down to clear thinking, clear delivery, and connecting with whoever you're talking to, whether that's an examiner or, your mate down the pub.
So wrapping up this deep dive into an IELTS speaking transcript of all things.
Unexpected source.
Totally. We've seen that good communication isn't just about perfect grammar or big words. It's so much about clarity, using examples well, managing those nerves we all get.
Right. And we saw adaptation as this core human thing, influenced by how well we fit somewhere personally, but also just our willingness to embrace the new, even when it's tough.
And those challenges themselves, yeah, they're often uncomfortable, but maybe they're the real engines of growth, of self-discovery.
Which brings us to our final thought for you, the listener. Think about the unexpected places in your life. Where might you find insights into how you communicate, how you adapt, how you're developing as a person?
Yeah, what everyday tests or situations, maybe things you don't normally analyze, might hold surprising lessons if you look at them through this kind of lens.
Something to mull over. Which of these points resonated most with you today? Maybe chat about it with someone or just explore the ideas a bit more on your own.
Great thought to end on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.